we're the red team and we're going to talk about how nanotechnology could help in reducing carbon dioxide from the environment. As we all know, since the Industrial Revolution, the world has been changing dramatically, affecting species and environments from all around the globe. In this video, we're gonna be talking about global warming, nanotechnology, and its applications in order to help sustainability in the world. Also, we're gonna be talking about CO2, which is a main gas that comes from fossil fuel. Sustainable development should really be taken into consideration nowadays, since we only have one world and we have to protect it. The main purpose of this video is to inform about the problem and also to propose solutions that are not only viable but also ethical and economical in order to help solve this problem. The correct execution of the proposed solutions will lead to a better future, so let's see it.
Let's begin by defining what global warming is. Global warming is the initially rapid increase in Earth's average surface temperature, primarily due to greenhouse gases, mostly carbon dioxide, that have been released by burning fossil fuels or other human actions related with industrial activities. Global warming is something to be concerned about. In fact, it is one of the main planetary boundaries proposed to achieve worldwide sustainability, and it is too related with one of the Millennium Development Goals proposed by United Nations, more specifically with the Millennium Development Goal number 7 that talks about ensuring environmental sustainability. Global temperature has increased greatly over the last 3 decades, and the last century it has augmented about 0.8 Celsius grades. India, China, and the United States have greatly contributed to the emission of greenhouse gases. These 3 countries have constantly avoided or have been reluctant to adhere to different international environmental compromises or protocols. The Kyoto Protocol and the most recent, the Paris Agreement, are the most perfect examples. Despite this unlucky image that we are having, recent studies have shown that nanotechnology could help to reduce CO2 emissions from the environment by using different synthesis methods of nanomaterials. We will talk of this later. Now let's talk about some main problems caused by CO2, an important greenhouse gas. Since the Industrial Revolution, human actions have directly affected the equilibrium of the environment, and not only through burning fossil fuels, have affected natural cycles that have caused a dramatic increase in CO2 emissions. Eutrophication is an example of how human actions, aside from fossil fuel burning, can contribute to a dramatically increase in CO2 emissions.
This problem relies in the damage carbon dioxide is generating to the environment. Some of the most important problems caused by CO2 are: it is a contributor to the environmental effect known as acid rain. Emissions released from fossil fuels burning energy plants combined with moisture in the air, the result is precipitation with a high acid content, and the acidification of the oceans, which is killing several oceanic species and contributes to reef widening. And another problem is terrestrial and atmospheric environments, since it changes the temperature of the globe, resulting in the melting of glaciers and destruction of different habitats and ecosystems. Like Hansen said, nanotechnology is a new branch of science. Its main function is to manipulate matter on an atomic and molecular level. Working with particles at this level makes it possible to modify the psychochemical and biological properties of matter. This area of science could help develop a sustainable future. There is a sub-branch called sustainable nanoscience, which links the control of matter at nanoscales and propose realistic applications for it, which could help build a sustainable future. Now, how nanotechnology can be useful for sustainable development? It's simple. One of the many applications nanotechnology have is reducing the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Currently, 80% of the energy used in the world comes from fossil fuels, but nanotechnology could offer solutions from capturing and storing CO2 from the environment. And this is not only efficient, but it is also economically cheaper and has no risk from the earth and its ecosystems. Well, the applications for nanotechnology to the environment are that many nanomaterials could be useful to solve these problems. The most known is a carbon nanotube with the form of a peanut. Carbon is really good for storing gases, and it is also known to be a really good CO2 absorbent. It could help to reduce carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It works with temperatures to 0 to 200 Celsius, which is really good since the environmental conditions can change, making it more adaptable and also helps with the bioremediation. But this equipment still has some limitations. For example, it is not water resistant.
Even when the carbon nanomaterial could be a really viable solution, there are other methods that could be used. For example, a lignocellulose-based adsorbent, which could be really helpful since it is hydrophobic, which means it is water resistant, unlike the carbon nanotube. And not only that, but also water increases its levels of adsorption, which is a great possibility for stabilizing carbon dioxide levels in the environment. So how does this nanomaterial work? Basically, it comes from lignocellulosic biomass, which comes from woods and agricultural wastes. After these wastes are converted into CO2 adsorbents, and this is not only viable for reducing CO2 from the environment, but also it helps in cutting down the wastes that are being landfilled and have humongous environmental consequences. So basically, the previously two mentioned methods are really good for absorbing CO2 and helping the environment, but there are also other methods that could be used, like Palladium nanoparticles, but still they don't work out quite as well since they have fewer adsorption levels. Also, this type of nanomaterial has different advantages. Like, one of them is that it can work with different temperatures, which is really good because we don't really know when the environmental conditions are going to change. Focusing more on how it works, it's a peanut-shaped carbon nanotube, which is measured in nanometers. And also, recent studies have shown that carbon has a lot of properties that have to do with magnetism, superconductivity, and anode materials, which are really important because this leads to the storage of CO2. This property is called adsorption, and it is a phenomenon in which a solid or a liquid body can attract and retain in its surface gases or liquids or dissolved bodies, which, as we said previously, is what we're aiming to do. The only problem related to this is that it's not water resistant, so it could have some limitations when taken into action. It's important to mention that the synthesis and production of these nanotubes is not harmful for the environment. It is also known to be an economical solution.
Okay, so I think in conclusion we could all agree that the use of nanotechnology to help bioremediation and also to control CO2 emissions is not only an ethical solution, it also has a lot of benefits when it comes to economic and environmental issues. Also, it doesn't have collateral damage to our ecosystems, which will allow to develop a more sustainable society. And finally, these solutions, we think they should be taken into consideration by governments all around the world, because the way we're producing CO2 right now, it's really dangerous, and eventually plants won't be able to reduce carbon dioxide levels, which will increase temperatures and will damage our ecosystems dramatically. So yeah, I think it's time to pay more attention to the environmental problems we face.